Hi all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. I've got a in-depth review here on a Mantis Tornado 4,000 litre per hour pump.
I am Mantis.
This is a DC controllable pump that I'm going to put through its paces. It is made in China, but the price point reflects that. I'm not so sure the quality does. The quality appears to be much higher than that. So anyway, let's move on to the unboxing. Here it is. This is how it comes. It's got a 2-year manufacturer's warranty, and yeah, has a weird name, but so be it. Comes in a few different models, a 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 and 12,000 litres per hour. It seems like a lot of flow, but I think these things are up to it. So what do you get in the box? All neatly packed away there. You get some rubber feet, you get instructions, you get the pump itself, of course, which has a nice feel to it. It's hard to explain, but it's just got this quality finish to it. It doesn't feel like cheap plastic. It feels much better than that. Obviously you get your power lead, the controller itself, which has all the touch buttons on the front there. Yeah, nice little captive touch things. So it should be a little bit splash proof. Your DC 24 volt power supply, some hose connectors of different sizes, and some nice little silent, actually they're not rubber feet, they're rubber feet fell out there. There's the rubber feet to keep it sort of vibrations free, and some different methods for attaching the controller. You can use Velcro, or you can just use 3M adhesive stuff, whatever takes your fancy. As you can see by the business card there, this pump is brought into Australia by Aquabella, who are known for bringing in only quality products. So despite this being a Chinese-made pump, Nick from Aquabella has put his name behind it, which is a big plus in my book. All right, so I've set up a highly professional testing rig. You can see here the pump's down in the frag tank, and you know, whenever you see zip ties, things are set up good. So I've got some zip ties, little tappies in case I need to manually shut it off, and just an outlet that I can hold up to the camera and show you the different modes of this Mantis Tornado pump. I'll go through, it's got 3 modes, well 4 if you include the feed mode, but let's be honest, feed mode's a timed off mode. Just to show you some of the different functions of it. It's not an Ecotech Vectra or an Abyss, but it's a pretty handy little pump for the price point. So let me just fire it up, and we'll go through what modes we've got. Alright, so hopefully you can see there. I'm on mode 1, which is the first digit, O1, which is the speed, and you can see the flow there. She's this is the 4,000 litres per hour pump, and that's, don't forget this thing's got 20 speed settings. As far as the lowest speed setting goes, that's a lot of flow, which is a pro and a con, I guess. I was hoping with 20 different speed settings, this might be able to go down really slow. Without having to use a tap, but on its slowest setting, that's a lot of flow. You watch if we turn the speed up, go up to say halfway at 10, getting a fair amount of flow there, and we go all the way up to 20. That's the maximum flow of this pump, which is yeah, quite a lot. I'm starting to splash a fair bit about, so I'll just hold that down for a second. Let's get that speed back down to 1. So that's mode 1, which is the steady flow speed, or just standard pump operation, I guess. If you press mode again, that gets us into setting 2, which is pulse. You can probably already hear the pump. So what it does is it sets your time between pulses. So I've set mode 2, 20 is the slowest pulse. You can see that it's got a real slow pulse. If I turn that down, I come back to 1, it's a real quick pulse. And obviously in between, medium-sized pulse. Now I am led to believe that if I go back to mode 1 and I set the speed here, say I set that up to say 13, that becomes my base setting for mode 2, which looks like it has. Kind of hard to see there in the video, but that is doing a pulse between what I assume is 15 and 20. If I go back to mode 1, turn that down to the slowest setting, go back to 2 now, I get this pulse between 1 and 20. pretty nifty. And the final mode is mode 3, which at the moment is going quite slow. Even though I've got it set to speed 20, this is a nutrient transport mode, and the pump sort of has a built-in map, I guess, where it slowly ramps up and down. So it's starting to get a little bit stronger now. This isn't a pulse by any stretch of the imagination, it's just a random speed up and slow down. I guess it's highlighting some of the closed loop modes this pump can do. I say closed loop, you've got to keep in mind that this pump is a submersible pump. You don't want to run it externally, so closed loop within the tank might be good on like some Red Sea Reefers or Cade Pros in that back section where they can run some closed loop functions rather than just having a pump on steady speeds. You see that's, even though I'm on speed 20, it's slowed right down now. So it's speeding up, slowing down, doing its thing. I'm going to be using this pump mostly in the steady speed because the use I've got at the moment is to hook up to this reactor here. I'll hook that up, albeit a little bit temporarily for the moment, just so I can sort of show you the pump in action. I'm glad I've got this tap in line because this is a lot of flow. I'm only looking for about probably 500 litres per hour. So I will have to mechanically restrict this down a little bit, which is a good problem to have, I guess. If your pump's flowing more than you need, you can always slow it down, but if it's not flowing enough, you need to speed it up. So yeah, let's hook that up and see how we go. Alright, so let's wrap up with the pros and cons of this pump. As you can see from the image of my virtual pros and cons list board here, the pros are heavily in the favour, or the list is heavily in favour of pros over cons. We might as well start with the pros because they're on the left. First of all, this pump's cheap compared to anything else on the market. Check for your local retail pricing, but we're talking significantly cheaper than anything else that is Australian supported. So, I mean, sure, you can import some pumps from overseas, but if you have trouble with them, you've got to send them back overseas. These things are locally supported, and for the quality, their price is really on point. The next thing people will always want to know about DC controllable pumps is, are they quiet? Granted, I tested this thing in my frag or my fish room, which is not a quiet place, but I could not hear this pump whatsoever. I did turn some of the other tanks off just to see if I could hear it at all, and I couldn't. Yeah, I've only had it running for maybe 3 weeks now, 2.5, 3 weeks, but there's definitely no hums, vibrations, rattles. It's a quiet piece of gear, as quiet as anything else I've heard on the market. On to the next point there, it's a controllable pump with various modes. There's been a lot of controllable DC pumps on the market for a while now, like where you can have, between 3 and 10 different speed settings. Not a lot of them out there have modes, and by modes I mean that pulsing mode, that nutrient export mode. There's a couple of pumps on the market now, but again, a lot more expensive. Whether you have a use or not for these modes is another question. If you're just using it as a return pump or to feed a reactor, you're just going to want your standard speed control. But if you're using this as a closed loop pump or just adding some sort of flow or something else creative, having those pulse modes and those random nutrient export modes can be really handy. All right, on to our second last pro. Probably one of the biggest ones in my book is that despite this being a Chinese-made pump and being incredibly affordable, it's brought in by a quality Australian distributor. Aquabella are known for bringing in quality products and never having any issues with warranties or after-sale support. These guys are the best in the business, so having them behind this, putting their name behind it, absolutely makes it for me. All right, our final point on the pro list is the massive amount of flow. Despite getting a 4,000 litre per hour pump, this thing absolutely pumps out the flow. Has this really pretty handy head height available to it too. So Yeah, it's hard to argue with the flow. I can only imagine what sort of beasts the 10,000, 12,000 litre versions of these would be like, particularly for the price point. Huge amounts of flow. All right, onto the cons list. We need to go through it just to be a fair and unbiased report, but there's only really two on the list. The first one I've already touched on, which is the pump's made in China. This is backed by Aquabella in Australia, which completely eliminates that for me. A lot of things are made in China these days, and for the price point, you're not going to get a German-made pump. So if you're working within a budget, which we all are, this could well be an excellent compromise in price without compromising too much in quality. Finally, probably the only con that I would put as actually being something that is a con is that the minimum flow setting on the controller, despite having 20 different settings for speed, the minimum one on the stand or the steady flow setting was still fairly high, which was the only thing that I would have liked to have seen. I was hoping we could get this down to a real trickle. I know that's difficult to do with impeller pumps, but it would have been really cool. I get most people aren't going to. It's easy to put a tap in line and it won't cause you any issues, but I was just hoping we could really slow it down. Would have been cool.
I am Mantis.
All right, so to wrap things up, what can I say? Quality pump, cheap price, weird name. If you're in the market for a closed loop pump or a return pump or something to feed your reactors, make sure you check out the Mantis Tornadoes. I think for the price you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Cheers.